Come on! Come on! Come on already! Why don't my snaps work on this guy?
I'm Mr. King Dice. I'm the gamest in the land. I never play nice. I'm the devil's right-hand man.
Okay, I didn't want to have to do this, but I am legitimately begging you. Please let us out of this castle. We have an important job to do.
I can't let you pass, 'cause you ain't done everything. Bring me those contracts, come on, bring 'em to the king.
What contracts? What, you just want us to play this game? Fine, whatever. Go, somebody play this game already.
Cuphead? Oh, I've heard of this game. Yeah, it's supposed to be really fun. I can't wait. Yay!
Stop enjoying yourselves, this is serious.
So, do you think the My Little Pony fandom is still alright?
Trust me, the guy I sent to stop Surfer Dude is a professional at what he does. Snap attacks don't work on him.
What kind of guy did you send?
One who's good at what he does.
I'm getting a little bit of mixed signals.
Funny enough, that's the name of the episode. This is Signals. The episode opens up with Lord Hordak deep in experimentation. He's doing something, but unfortunately whatever he's doing is backfiring on him and just isn't working right, which of course pisses him off.
Well, if nothing else, he's not like the other villains who just sit around all day waiting for other people to do the exact same thing. He's a proactive villain.
We later cut to Team She-Ra as they're walking through the woods trying to figure out why the hell Entraptra would betray them. But they're also encouraging themselves that they don't need Entraptra. She may have had cool weapons, but they have magic. But Boat chimes in, saying that Entraptra was one of the few people who understood that magic and science were not all that different from each other, and she knew how to combine those two factors to creating bigger and stronger weapons. But that's okay, because they have Bo and he can do things, I guess.
But before they can epically facepalm, Swiftwind comes in, telling them that there's something up ahead. And Princess Tumbler decides to give them all an inspirational speech of they have to see what's wrong with this random village. And I'm just kind of here wondering, where are the other princesses? I mean, we haven't seen them for a few episodes, and this is a series called The Princesses of Power, but all we've seen so far is Tumbler, Beta Boy, and She-Ra. But as they leave, She-Ra notices that there's something off about these woods.
You know, I'm kind of glad you brought that up, Commando. Where are all the other princesses? What are they doing? It was so important for them to get the Princess Alliance set up in the previous season, but we barely seen them this season at all.
And on top of that, this season only has 7 episodes. So there's only 4 episodes left for them to do anything.
But speaking of doing something, Entraptra is currently busy working on some random project, but she's unable to concentrate due to a wobbly desk, as well as insufficient space for her to work in. She tries to cope and compensate, but it's clear that she is completely aggravated that she has no real way to work on her projects.
Meanwhile, Catra is currently trying to catch up with Lord Hordak to see if there's anything he wants her to do. But Hordak is very pissed off that she would disturb him for apparently nothing. And he's also very pissed at her that she hasn't been living up to what she believes is her best qualities. So he straight up tortures her to tell her to straighten up her act. My god, this guy's a scary villain. I mean, he straight up zapped the oxygen out of the room, but he doesn't seem affected at all. But Catra seems to get the fear of God in her, and so she wanders off.
Unfortunately, we have to cut back to Team She-Ra, as they're investigating some small village where they get a lot of their resources. Mainly food. It's an entire orchard, but the entire village seems abandoned. Bo tries to use his weird scanner in order to detect if there's any horde activity, because it can do that. But there's nothing. No signs of life at all. And they start getting freaked out over the possibility of ghosts, because that's the first thing I think of when I see an abandoned city. Ghosts! But they leave without noticing some strange presences that's going on. Is it wrong of me to say that I'm more interested in everything that's going on with the Horde more than I am with anything She-Ra's currently doing?
No, I feel as though you're perfectly in the right. She-Ra's just going off on some weird spooky adventure, while shit is actually going on in the Horde. You know, something that might progress the plot.
This show has a plot?
Well, we cut back to the Horde as Catra is starting to feel the full weight of the responsibilities left to her when she took Shadow Weaver's spot, as they can't ship out any troops because they have no armor, and the armory can't build any more armor because they don't have any more of the material and don't know where Shadow Weaver got it. And it doesn't help that Entraptra decides to invite herself into the room, where she proceeds to look for a tool that isn't there. But that's okay, she saw one in Hordak's laboratory, and she was going to get it. But Catra quickly pounces on the little vixen and tells her to not go anywhere near Lord Hordak. But she, of course, looks like she's going to ignore this rule, because she was told not to go somewhere, which is a surefire way to get someone to go somewhere. But that's okay, because Catra charges Scorpina to watch Entraptra. I don't see how this can go wrong.
But this does bring up a point. Shouldn't she be able to get the tool anywhere else, or get somebody else to get her the tool?
That's a good point. I'm sure there's more of the tool just lying around somewhere around the base, but that's not the point here. The point is, Entraptra and Hordak are about to have a one-on-one. This is gonna be good. Unfortunately, we have to cut back to Team Tumbler, as they keep searching the already established abandoned village. Our heroes, everybody, have to keep rubbing it in our faces that the village is completely abandoned. But they do at least discover something. The food that was on the table is been cold for a while, but still prepared and ready to eat. So whatever happened a while ago and was in a complete and total rush. And then they notice a tower in the middle of the city, which I guess is going to play importance later. But they reassure us that as long as they stick together, nothing bad can go wrong. And this of course happens right before something bad happens.
She-Ra and Swiftwind hear a terrible noise, something like people trying to communicate. And then they all start hearing the noise and freak out. She-Ra notices a ghost in the woods and goes full She-Ra to chase after it. Now, I don't want to be that guy.
Yes, you do.
Okay, you're right, I do. But what's a sword going to do against a ghost?
Well, we cut back to Entraptra as she's going through a moral dilemma, trying to figure out should she follow Catra's orders, or does she think that the screwdriver she needs is more worth it? She contemplates this, but then proceeds to completely defy Catra, as she finds the tool that she's looking for. But she also gets a glimpse at Hordak's science project, as it once again fails, and Hordak leaves the room in a huff. Entraptra thinks that he's being a bit of a baby about it, and decides to fix it herself.
Okay, this is either gonna be really good, or someone's gonna die. There is no in between when it comes to Entraptra.
So Entraptra begins working on a project she knows next to nothing about, and who should showed up? Why, Hordak, who is, to put it mildly, less than thrilled that she's touching his property without his knowledge or consent, and tells her to leave. But she's surprisingly unaffected by his threats and taunts, and this takes him aback. But she finishes her work and then leaves, as he's claiming that there will be dire consequences if she broke anything. But she is so confident that she's fixed something that he tries the machine out himself. And surprisingly enough, it works. And then she just appears right next to him again. Wait, are you sure this isn't a Looney Tunes cartoon? Okay, I really don't mind a more comedically goofy character in the Horde, but these antics of hers are starting to borderline Pinkie Pie. Holy crap, I think I just figured out why I like her so much. She reminds me of Pinky! Well, since Entraptra is already this far in, Hordak decides to reveal some more parts of his master plan, as he reveals that he is an alien from another world, and that he's planning on building a space bridge. Wow, way to rip off Megatron there, Hordak.
But Entraptra is not just totally nonchalant about him being an alien, but she's more interested in the fact that he's building the ultimate science project, and she not only asks to help, but demands to help. Hordak really is unsure, but seeing as she's already this far in, might as well let her go the full green mile.
We also cut to Shadow Weaver, who is currently in a jail cell. She was in a jail cell before, but we didn't think that it was important to bring up. But now she actually serves a purpose, as Catra demands to know exactly where she gets the material to build the armor. But she is being very compliant, as she reveals that the material that used to build the armor is found right there in the Horde. And Catra, getting what she wanted out of her, leaves. But not before Shadow Weaver begins playing mind games on Catra, saying how it's not easy being Shadow Weaver, is it? And how Hordak will never truly trust her. But Catra, of course, openly objects. But Shadow Weaver proves just how manipulative she is, even stripped of her powers.
I'm gonna be honest. Does anyone really care about She-Ra and her friends at this point when you have drama like this ensuing?
Nope.
Not really.
Why don't they rename the show Catra?
I agree. Let's be honest here, people. She-Ra is a secondary character in her own show. The real drama lies with the cats.
Speaking of She-Ra, we later cut back to her as her and Bo and Tumbler are attacking ghosts. But they can't seem to damage the ghosts. Surprise, surprise. Despite all of She-Ra's thuggish swinging around her sword. So they decide to run. But then they get surrounded by ghosts. But then Bo notices something interesting about the ghosts. They're not really doing anything and they're running on repeat motion. And so he approaches one and discovers they're holograms. They're not ghosts at all. And so he starts to piece together this puzzle.
But enough about that. We cut back to Catra and the Horde as Scorpina finds the documents needed, but when pressed to ask where Entraptra is, Scorpina honestly doesn't know, and Catra is a true pouty face. So we cut back to the Science Experiment 101 as Entraptra and Hordak are currently boosting the power of his energy device, and she is loving every second of this, while Hordak proves to be more and more impressed by the brilliance of Entraptra. Scorpina and Catra come rushing in, and she immediately starts apologizing for Entraptra's behavior and interrupting him. But Hordak exclaims the only one interrupting anyone is her at the moment, as her and Entraptra are currently in the process of building bigger and better weapons, and Catra is of course heartbroken that she's being upstaged by this little adorable idiot.
Now, when we first started this review season, I made a note to put a pin in the fact that Hordak was more interested in Entraptra than impressed by Catra. And this is where that little pin finally pays off.
The series has done a good job integrating this, but we'll go ahead and spell it out here. Hordak is more interested in soldiers who are useful rather than loyal.
Entraptra drops She-Ra and the others like a sack of shit in order to join the Horde the first chance she got a few science projects to play around with. There's no question that if a better and more lucrative option occurred, Entraptra would drop Hordak just as fast.
But Catra's shown nothing but loyalties to Lord Hordak, but he doesn't give her the time of day. Instead, he'd rather see what Entraptra can do, since her science and knowledge of First One's tech is more useful to him than any battle strategy Catra could come up with.
Well, we finally go back to the conclusion of the She-Ra arc, as the tower bomb before is actually First One's technology. A computer transmitter of sorts. And the holograms were nothing but illusions made by it. So She-Ra decides to turn the thing off, and thus the holograms disappear. But not before Bo notices something interesting on his PDA thingy, as he notices that there's still a bit of First One's messages embedded in his device. Glimmer says that it must be broken, but Bo is not so convinced. And that was Signals. A drastic improvement over the first 2 episodes, I can guarantee you that.
And I know precisely why. This was a villains episode through and through. The dynamic with the villains is so much more important and so much more impressive than anything She-Ra's been able to produce so far.
It's really kind of sad that She-Ra has become a secondary character in her own show. But Catra, Entraptra, Shadow Weaver, and of course Lord Hordak are way more impressive characters, and very much more well-defined.
If Princess Tumbler and Beta Boy Bo got half of what they got, then they would be twice as good as what they are now. And that's just those 2. The rest of the princesses could also use that and get 5 times as good.
But sadly, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. The princesses, as well as Bo, are kept very safely generic, and all the development seems to be pushed towards the villains. But at least we got a good episode out of it. I definitely give this one a 7 out of 10, mostly because it kept cutting back to She-Ra and her friends. So with that being said, we're the Cartoon Gentlemen, the organizers of Chaos as Vintage Kings, and we'll see you all next time!
No one sweeps like Duxton, keeps things neat like Duxton. No one's heart is incredibly weak like Duxton's.
Excuse me?
Sorry, we're just about to open.
Oh, good. We were looking for a village pub, and we were hoping for a quick drink.
Duxton is confused. What about a villain's pub?
Wait a second. I know that face. That is the face of someone who's been defeated by a hero. I know that face all too well, looking in the mirror.
Looks like we found the right place, boys! Come here, friend. I'm sure you got a story you can tell us in the end.